This is the Stripe dashboard, like it's in Indian currency. So it's around, like $7,500 for June on this one on Stripe. And rest of it's from PayPal and like Wise. Like this is the accounting sheet, right? So we have like the total revenue, the expenses, and the margins. If you've been thinking about joining Grow Creatives or like keeping that decision pending, I think like if you're able to do it, just do it. Like get on a call. Like I think that's the first thing I did. I got on a call. You guys were really able to help me figure out how I can sort of join and get started. The program has been really exceptional. Like the response time you guys have is like crazy. I don't know how you do it, but like both of you like respond with any queries I have, and then be really consistent with the group calls. I think like again having insights and being able to, for me personally, like being able to learn from two different mentors. So that was the biggest contributor as well.
All right, so just as I was getting this edited, unfortunately I figured out that there was a ton of static noise in the background for the video. So to make it understandable, I had to put some AI noise reduction filters on it. So the voices are going to be a little bit weird, a little bit robotic or distorted, but at least it will be understandable. So sorry about that, guys, but trust me, the golden nuggets in this video are going to make it worth listening to. So hope you enjoy. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another client interview. Today I have Tanush on here with me, who has been a member of Grow Creatives for around 6 months at this point. So he joined around January. And Tanush, it's great to have you in here, and thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. It's funny because like just beginning of this year, I was watching these interviews to get more insights to learn stuff, and it's exciting to be in one of them.
So before we would get into anything else, let's talk about what most people are interested in. How much revenue were you at before you joined Grow Creatives, and where are you at right now, or what did you do last month?
I joined around March, I think, in the beginning of year, like pretty much before I joined, it was around 2 to 3K. The best I did was 3.5, 4K, and right now, like last month in June, I did 10.5K. 10,497 to be exact. And yeah, that's the first 5-figure month I heard.
That's amazing. Like really, really solid transformation in just, well, if you joined in March, I remember January for some reason, then it's even less time actually. It's only been like
4 months.
4 months. Yeah, that's amazing. Like almost doubled every month pretty much compared to the first month. So what do you think is the biggest reason why you were able to, pull this off? Like there is a lot of, beginner agency owners who get stuck in that sub 5K mark for a really long time, and they just, can't seem to go through it. What do you think was different about you that allowed you to do this?
Yeah, I think there are, couple of different things. So the first thing is like having clarity with the offer. So that's something, you consulted when I, immediately joined. Like even though I was making a couple of $1,000 every single month before, the profit margin was pretty bad, and I was able to like after I think the first call we had, we refigured the offer I had, and I was able to configure it in a way, make it more compelling, and make sure like the margins make sense. And I think that's like really set the foundation, and after that point on, I think I focused on being consistent with outreach. So that's one thing I was like previously. What happened was when I was doing outreach, whenever I closed a client, then I had to fulfill, and the outreach was stopped, and then like I was not really was able to be consistent. And then I think as soon as I was making sufficient, rather than focus on maybe celebrating, I really focused on hiring people to automate those parts of like lead generation, so that we can be consistent and stack up opportunities. So I think I really believe like with volume, like it's possible. I think that's what I focused on, and I think those are two main things that enabled to get to this point, along with other things, but mainly two.
Yeah, one thing I remember regarding your offer is at first you had a bunch of different add-ons, and it was like very complex, like it was a bit confusing for clients, and we simplified it a lot. So yeah, I think that was pretty big. And I agree with you that,
you being able to stay consistent with the outreach and do a lot of volume was also very, very important. And, you do actually have a bit of a background in appointment setting, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like worked as an SDR myself for like 6 months. I think learned from there and then implemented. Yeah. Like what I've learned, constantly trying to improve as well.
Mm-hmm. What specifically made you want to be in Grow Creatives, considering that you actually worked for one of the biggest, consulting offers before this, in this kind of like online business space? Literally one of the biggest guys who teaches how to get clients for agencies and coaches. And I'm sure you've seen his training. I'm sure you've been there. Yeah. So what made you want to still buy our program and, be able to get on calls with us and do all of this?
Yeah. So the big thing is like it's specifically designed for creative agencies and like for, people in the creative space. I think, there are multiple programs for like SMMAs or like agencies, but it's not, very specific. And that's one thing like yours is very, it was very specific to me. And there are very few programs first like with this level of specific offering. And also the second thing is like, it's one program, but I have two mentors. So I think that's the big part, like you and also Greg. I think that's like very immensely valuable. Like I get, two different perspectives and like advice for any of the queries or like, concerns I might have. And I think that's another thing that really, sort of I saw the value from joining, just being around people that are working towards the same thing. I think, having that accountability is the biggest thing. That's something I struggle with. I think like if I look at the graph, a revenue graph, it shot up after I, started joining the group calls, consistently and like getting different insights from all the different people that are in the program as well. That's the biggest thing, right? So having that accountability, like sometimes entrepreneurship can be, a bit lonely when you're trying to do things yourself, and like getting advice from people who have already done it. Typically, you don't know what you don't know, and I think having that guidance is really, that's what I really saw value in.
I definitely agree with you that that's the biggest thing, is actually sticking through with the program and finishing it, right? And I think that's something you've done really well, is that you asked questions a lot, you were joining a lot of the group calls, you were constantly in a feedback loop with us, right? And that's initially the reason why we created this program, so people would have access to people who've actually done what they're trying to do in the content agency space. However, there's still a lot of people who will pay a really significant amount of money for a program, and they will still not follow through with it, and they will still not show up for the calls and actually put in the work and take the actions that we recommend them. So what do you think it was that allowed you to be able to stick through it? And what advice would you have for people, to actually, once they've decided that they want to do something, to actually do it? Because a lot of people struggle with the mindset side of things.
Yeah.
So how did you learn that? Or did it come naturally to you?
No, it definitely was not natural. Like, I think for the longest time, I was stuck in, below 3-4K is because I was not like, I did not have that personality. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, is like working on these things, like building a service, starting an agency is one thing, and I think learning to work is a different thing. Like once you really, commit, I think like this beginning of late towards last year and like beginning of this year, like something really, it's like changed, and I wanted to, take things seriously. And I think, that's one thing, like having a clear set goal on why you want to do this, and what change it will bring in your life. I think like having that clarity is something that will motivate you every day to get up and do the things. And like I don't think it's motivation is the main like fuel for this. I think it's discipline. I think religiously getting up every day and knowing what you need to do and doing that, maybe not 100%, maybe at least 90%. If you do that, I think that will like that's the biggest thing. Most people like talking about me, like the reason why I was not making that amount of money is not because I didn't have a good offer or like I didn't know how to do outreach. It's just me, right? I had to be more serious and more disciplined. And I think once that happened, once I was true to myself, I think that really changed how the agency was doing. Going into the program, my my thought process was like, I knew you like for quite some time before, like I was watching your videos, but I didn't hop into the join the program. I wanted to book the call. Like, I had this in my goals or to-do list to join Grow Creatives. That was one of my goals, and I think I wanted to leverage it as well as possible, and I think I wanted to join all the calls whenever I was available, like pretty much being consistent with that, and focus on learning. I think learning is the biggest part, right? Once you think like stuff, then you stop growing. So constantly learning and being able to work very in discipline, like that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, 100%. Now, one thing I wanted to ask about is a lot of people, I hear all types of excuses, right? And I think that's a big reason why a lot of people never get to where they want to be, is because they will find every reason in the book as for why it won't work for them, whether they are already in a program or whether they haven't even got in one or haven't even got started. They will blame it on 100 different things, right? And I know this can sound a little bit weird, right? But for example, you're from India, and a lot of people don't expect people from India to be successful in online business. A lot of people who are from India, they will use that as an excuse. Just like even for me in Hungary, like a lot of people have that. For example, the small country mentality where they think they cannot do it big. And I think in India, it's like the different thing, right? Where a lot of people have this mindset, have this limiting belief that just because they are from India, they cannot build a successful online business. So I think with you, you never really appeared to have this. You had your mindset right, and you just put in the work. You didn't question the process. What do you think was the reason for that? Was it like how you were raised, or the confidence you've built up until then? Like, what do you have to say to people who use things like where they are from or their religion or whatever as excuses for why they cannot get clients or why people don't say yes to them?
So I think like the mindset, this was, I have struggled this for a long time. Like I was thinking like people will not, in the sales call, that was my biggest insecurity, right? My accent, the where I'm from. And I figured out like clients really didn't care. Like they just wanted to know like how good you are at your service and how you can help them, what solution you provide. And once I realized that, then like I had this mindset that my PIN code shouldn't determine my bank balance. I think that's the really like big thing, a big mindset. All these barriers you set for yourself, it's just like like when you think about it logically, it's just you having restrictions. You're setting lines for yourself on what you can do and where you can go. When I was working as a freelancer, like even before I started my agency, I was doing some freelance projects. I didn't have to get on calls. It was on Fiverr. I just got inbound orders directly. I was making like $600 to $1,000 at 17, which was very it's a big money here in India, right? So I could have been comfortable with that. But I think the biggest thing is like, don't want to get complacent. The moment you get complacent and like sort of think it's enough, then like life gets boring, I guess. I think like having looking for new challenges, like having different milestones and working towards it and aiming to be a better person. I think that's the biggest thing. And once you stop thinking so much about yourself, like how you sound, how you appear, those barriers, like in that sense, about your region, about your skin color or like accent, those things really doesn't matter.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the market is actually very fair, in my opinion. Like literally, who has the best service, who has the most value to provide in the long term, that person is going to win, And a lot of people just like to use these things as a cop-out for why they will not take full responsibility for where they are right now. Like they will try to blame it on external, factors. And as long as you keep doing that and you don't take a radical responsibility for everything in your life, you will be basically powerless, right? Because you will always have other external circumstances determine why you are there just to make yourself feel better. But at the end of the day, nobody really cares. So the only person you're really hurting, in my opinion, by you making up all these things, or even if they are true, it still doesn't matter. It doesn't help you. Nobody really cares about you. It's only hurting your own self. If you keep making up these excuses, or if you keep blaming these external circumstances. So I think that's one thing as well that you've done exceptionally well. Now, let's talk a little bit about the complacency part, because you said that's something you have managed to overcome as well. And again, like you said, coming from India, now the amount of money you're making is probably like top 1% or maybe even less than that in terms of revenue, right? And probably profit as well. So what have you done up until now to like keep wanting to level up and not get stuck at 3K a month or 4K a month or even 1K a month when you are 17?
I said, like, I had that switch when I started taking things seriously. Before that, I was not really good at like managing money. I didn't have that personality, right? So after after that switch, like what I really focused on is like not celebrating too early. Whenever you have a win, I try to not take money out of the business. I think that's a big thing. Like I see how I can reinvest. Right now the goal is like I have hit 10K last month, and I don't want to celebrate too much. My goal is like to hit maybe 5 figures consecutively for next 3 months, and then maybe like I have this proof that like this is not, it was not a luck, right? It was like I can do it consistently.
Now, talking about team, I think that's a topic a lot of people would find interesting. What I was going to bring up, but I kind of forgot to mention it, is if you are from maybe a third world country, like you can also look at it as an advantage, because you speak the language that a lot of these freelancers do as well, who maybe work at cheaper rates than people in the US. So if you look at it from that perspective, it can also be seen as an advantage. You have access to a really good big pool of talent who you could also utilize. So can you share with people now how many clients you have on retainer, and also how your team looks like? And also, if you remember, like kind of in what order you built out the current team that you have?
I think that's the biggest thing. Like that was one of my biggest strategies. Pretty much all of my team is from India. And like the currency difference is one of the biggest thing, like is one of the business strategy. We have growth team and creative team separately, and the order I hired it is like I am not an editor. I don't know editing. I like all my knowledge is on YouTube marketing. So the first hires were just editors, and in fact, like I started by hiring editors first. Like more editors until and then a designer on the creative team for the creative side, and I was doing outreach sales myself. And as soon as I was able to it made sense to hire a growth specialist, I did it. And I had one growth specialist for the longest time, and right now, just about 1.5 months ago, I hired 2 more people to the growth team. Right now,
can you explain to people who don't know what a growth specialist is, just because there might be some people who don't know?
So a growth specialist is someone who is not just limited to lead generation, but also managing campaigns, doing outreach on your behalf. So they are trained in a way to be able to understand objections where you get in messages, like handle it. Like it's not just a virtual assistant who is following a script. This is more so like they're well versed in sales areas.
And how do you pay them? Do you pay them a base salary and a commission, or a commission only?
Yeah, it's base plus commission. Yeah, that's the order I hired. And regarding the team size and client, so right now we are like a team of around 9 people, and working with around like over 10 clients. Like out of those 10 clients, I would say like around 6 to 7 are like consistent monthly clients, and then I have a couple of contract projects that I have in a strategic partnership with. Like right now the plan is to like have had 2 more people to the growth team, and they are like more of a lead generation expert. So we have a growth specialist who is doing outreach and doing managing campaigns, and I just wanted to increase the top of the funnel, like have more leads coming in. So had 2 more people to do that lead generation.
All right. So we went over your journey a little bit, how you built your team. By the way, it's very interesting and impressive as well that you've basically never been an editor, and that's how you started an agency. Like most people go about it the other way, where they first learn how to edit, they work as a freelance editor, and then they start a creative agency. So it's a pretty unique path, but it just shows that it's possible if you really want to make it work. But then One more thing I wanted to touch on is the future of this business model. What are your thoughts? A lot of people are concerned with stuff like AI, competition. People always make up reasons, right, why it won't work or why
Yeah.
it won't work for them in the future. But what are your like objective thoughts on the marketplace as a whole, social media agencies as a whole? Do you think content is a better play, or ad agencies? Like, obviously you've been in this space for some time, you know a lot of the different options, and also from your previous work experience, you have seen a lot of other business models and agencies.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you think? Do you think content agency is a good model to be in and it's going to stay here? Or you think it's, very much so at risk?
No, I think definitely it's on upwards trend, because like more people are realizing the importance of content, and like for their business. Even if the competition is growing, like how big the market is also it's like growing. Like new people are, the demand is growing essentially. So I think that's the big thing, and I don't really like worry about competition. I think like it's just like it's just demand and supply, right? So also it's how good you are, and like constantly if you're just focused on getting better with the service, and not just like sales, right? Also it's a service is the biggest thing, like that results in sales, not just how the approach of your outreach, or how well you conduct sales call. I think constantly improving your service and seeing AI as an advantage rather than risk. So maybe see how you can implement AI within your service offerings, or like look at things, how we can leverage it to bring efficiency. I think if you go with that perspective, I think it would help rather than make it not work for you. I've tried running ad agency before. Like I just tried starting it quite a while ago. I think maybe like with creative agency, like it might be harder to close clients, but it's like easier to sort of retain them, because if you find right people to work with, if they understand like content is like long-term game, and they need to constantly produce videos, I think like retaining is one of the easiest things. And like our churn rate is like very, very low. You cannot really fail, you just quit, right? So I had so much opportunity to quit and say like this thing, like YouTube, I had those thoughts as well, like YouTube video service content doesn't work, like it's hard sell, like there were a lot of things that I could have considered as a failure. But it's just, if you're being consistent and like taking failures more as a feedback and improving, I think you'll get there eventually.
I 100% agree. And again, just the accountability as well, right? It's huge. Like taking accountability for everything you have. And if you are constantly facing a roadblock, then you don't interpret that as this business model doesn't work. You just interpret that as I'm not that good at this skill or this skill. And usually you can pinpoint what is the skill deficiency that you have. And the great thing about that is skills are learnable, right? So it means if you are facing a problem consistently, and it's due to you not having a certain set of skills, then you can actually just learn it, and you will be able to overcome it if you just stick with it long enough to learn how to do it. So yeah, that's amazing. What advice would you have, or what would you say were the biggest takeaways for you from these last 4 months? If you could go back in time, and maybe, I don't know if you could do it faster, but if you wanted to do it even faster, or maybe some of those things that were a bit tougher to figure out, or you could do a little bit differently, what would that be? What would you tell yourself from 4 months ago?
Yeah. So I think these are the things, of course, like we discuss in group calls as well. The biggest thing is like I mentioned, like being consistent with every single day, like getting up, like having planned, like if you having your week plan, having at least next couple of days planned, knowing what you need to be doing. I think that's really key, and having sort of clarity in where you want to go and what you need to do in order to get there. I think that's biggest thing as well. Like not just working on the business side of things, like also working on personal side of things. Like right now I'm able to get done a week's, like if I visit like maybe 6 months ago, the person I was, I think at that rate, the task I was able to get done in a week, right now I think I would be able to get done in 4 or 5 days. I think like having that, learning to work as well, right? That is a big thing. And yeah, like, get rid of any barriers you have, any excuses, like those really, mean nothing. Like get more logical than being very emotional. I think that's also something. And focus on learning constantly. So any opportunity you have to like invest in yourself, like learn new things and learn from people who are already at a position where you're trying to get, and those are the biggest things. And I think like focusing on your service as well. Like right now, even though right now like my clients are winning, I still feel like I could be doing better, right? So I think that's a fuel that is like helping me to improve the service every single month, and focus on growing the service aspect of things as well. If you've been thinking about joining Grow Creatives, or like looking at watching Vince's video, and like keeping that decision pending, I think like if you're able to do it, like just do it. Like get on a call. Like I think that's the first thing I did. I got on a call, and like you guys were really able to help me figure out how I can sort of join and get started. And basically from that point on, I think the program has been really exceptional. Like the response time you guys have is like crazy. I don't know how you do it, but like both of you like respond with any queries I have, and then be really consistent with the group calls. And I think like again having insights, and being able to, for me personally, like being able to learn from two different mentors, I think that was the biggest contributor as well.
Well, I really appreciate that. That means a ton, and it's been a pleasure having you in the program and coaching you. And just to clarify to everyone, like we didn't pay Danush, or we didn't give him anything to say that, so that's why it means genuinely a lot. And yeah, as I said, it's been a pleasure having you in, and I can't wait to see where you are going to be just a few months, few years from now.
So I really hope you enjoyed this interview and you got some value from it. If you also want to have a chance to talk to my team, and then me as well potentially, about whether you would be a right fit or not for Grow Creatives or any of our training programs for video editors or creative agencies, then go ahead and click the first link in the description below to schedule a call with us, and we will see there whether we can help you or not. So again, thank you so much for watching until the end, and I will see you in the next one.